All right. Good morning, everyone. It is 9 a.m. and it's time to call the Indianapolis Metropolitan Planning Organization at the IMPO to order. So I want to welcome everybody here today. I'm Steve Barnett, taking Mark Meyer's place today. He's out and we'll do introductions and we'll start my left.
Army Town Manager, Tom Whiteman.
The National Town Manager, Town of Bargersville. Brad Davis,
Jim Parent, the mayor's office in the city of Florence.
Nathan Cheats, City of Indianapolis.
Ryan White, Indigo.
Brad Merriweather, Town of Zionsville.
Brian Cannon, Town of Avon.
Brian Kleinhans, Town of Speedway.
Jennifer Beck, NDOT Project Manager on the Greenfield District.
Lynn Morrow, City of Greenfield.
Don Adams, Borden County.
Amanda Meyer, Serta.
Mike Borowski, Boone County.
Sean Northup, MPO.
Laura Drassic, NPO.
Jochi Martin, MPO.
Jennifer Kroll, MPO. Ben Higginbotham, MPO. Susan Sanchez, MPO. Andrea Miller, MPO.
Nick Batman, Indianapolis.
Stacy Connor, BS Engineering.
Mark Lewis, Lockheed Group.
Greg Bud, JQOL.
Jason Watt, Fishbeck.
Eric Miller, HDR.
George Dornick, JQOL.
All right. Thank you all for being here today. And I just want to take a real quick moment and let the folks that was affected here in our MPO area with the floods, our prayers are with you. And we've all been there of some sort, but this is pretty devastating, we realize, for our whole area. So we're with you. So hang in there. All right, we'll get to the first item. Meeting minutes of June 17th, 2026, which was a joint committee meeting. Hope everybody's had a chance. We need a motion to approve.
So moved, Mr. Chairman. Parent with Florence.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We'll go on to the next one. Meeting minutes of April 15th, 2026, policy committee meeting.
I need for approval, Mr. Chairman. Parent with Florence.
Thank you.
Second, Willie, Indigo.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, thank you. We'll go on to item 4, Circle 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan Amendment 4. Joda.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Can you hear me fine? Cool. All right, so we've got MTP amendment number 4. For 2026 quarter 3, we have 10 projects. Hey. 5 totaling $106.1 million project cost. So we have 5 that are updated and 5 new projects. We've split the couple split projects from in Avon and Greenwood. And then 3 of them are signals that are added, traffic signals at US 40 and 36, US 36, State Road 39, and State Road 144. So this is kind of just the location of the 4 top of those projects that are here for to be amended. We just held public review from August 8 to 17, and today is the pre-hearing as well. And we are seeking approval for resolution 26 IMPO 10-01010. And here's a more detailed look at those projects. So the ones that are in the orange are updated and the rest are just the new projects. Any questions? Comments? Concerns? All right.
Okay, so at this time, I think we'll open this up for a public hearing. Is that where we're at? Yeah. Okay, we'll open this up for a public hearing. Does anybody have any comments or questions? Feel free. Hearing none, we will close public comment and ask for a resolution 2026 IMPO-10 approval of.
Need a motion.
Need a motion.
So moved. Parent with Florence. I do go ahead, you go.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve resolution 2026 IMPO 10. All those in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, motion carries. Next item, 2026-2029 Transportation Improvement Program Amendments. Laura.
All right, good morning, everybody. My name is Laura. I'm here to present the quarter 3 tip amendments for you. As Jyoti said, we did put the tip amendments and MTP amendments up for public review and comment between August 8th and the 17th. We did host 2 virtual public hearings on Monday, and we did have 1 individual come at our noon meeting. But none of the comments pertain to the Q3 tip amendments. So Andrea will be presenting about those public comments from that hearing when she presents about the safety action plan. Just a reminder, we do have both exempt and non-exempt amendments in this quarter. So you will see 2 different slides, 1 for exempt and non-exempt and 2 resolutions. This quarter, we had about 9 total NDOT exempt amendments. 6 of those were new projects added to the tip, and 3 of those were just revised for projects, so due to added phases or revised funding amounts. And then we had only 1 local exempt amendment, which was just a revision to their project. Any questions on the exempt amendments this quarter? Go back here too. Okay, any public comments?
Okay, we're open up for public hearing. Is there any public comments at this time? Hearing none, we will, and the public hearings on both resolutions, by the way. So is there any questions on either resolution? Any comments? Hearing none, we'll close the public comments section. We now need a motion to approve both resolutions.
Motion to approve both resolutions, so Mr. Chairman, Karen, City Works.
Thank you, Jim.
Second,
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll go into our safety action plan.
I've got a few more updates for you. So these were the non-exempt amendments. These were the 6 NDOT amendments. 2 of those were new signal installs, so what Jyoti explained. And then 4 of those were just revisions to the project.
Okay, so I guess we did that wrong, right?
Doing one at a time, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so do we need to back up because we already passed both resolutions? Does one of those need to be withdrawn? Or do we just need to do a public hearing on the one?
Yep, I think just a public hearing for the non-exempt, because
All right,
nobody had comments for the exempt amendments.
okay, now we're at a public hearing for the non-exempt. Any comments, questions? Hearing none, we will close for the non-exempt public hearing.
Lovely.
And we've already approved the motion. So now we will move on.
I do have just some updates for the tip section. This does not require a public hearing or anything, just some updates about our upcoming call for projects. So as you know, the federal funds exchange program is not being extended. So we had to quickly adjust our timeline and open up our call for projects for state fiscal year 2030 and 2031. So the call for projects this year is going to open on August 31st. So that is in a week and a half. Just keep that on your calendars. And it will close on October 2nd. So that's about 5 weeks that it will be open, which is a little bit shorter than our usual time. For this call for projects, we will be using the existing IMPO selection criteria. So as some of you may know, we have been consulting with our consultant High Street and our subcommittee to revise the selection criteria. But because of the exchange program not being extended and some delays in getting that update and kind of hammered down, we're hoping to bring that before you, the new selection criteria before you, maybe in the fall or early winter. to be utilized in 2027 and beyond. So for this call for projects, it will be our existing selection criteria. And then just a reminder, since we aren't moving forward with federal funds exchange, this will be a federal program. So keeping that in mind with your scope and projects that you do submit. This is the funding that's available for this call for projects. We have about 88.8 million in STBG, about 13.9 in HSIP, and 39.8 in CMAQ. So that's about a total of just shy of 143 million. You'll notice that TA is not listed here, and that was because in our previous call for projects, we had already awarded out 2030 and 2031, but that doesn't mean that you still can't submit bike and pedestrian projects. It just means that that funding will come from another bucket like STBG. So we do have a call for projects packet that has been sent out to you all, but it's also uploaded on our TIP website too. So, all right. Those are all our updates for the call for project. Any questions for me or for Kristen here today? If not, you can always reach out to us. And that's all I've got.
Thank you, Laura.
You're welcome.
All right, now we will go on to safety action planning. Andrea.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. So I'll be going over, just giving you a high-level overview of the safety action plan, because as you recall, in June during the joint meeting, we had our project manager from Kimberly Horn give you a more detailed presentation. So I just want to go over a few high-level items to ensure everyone feels comfortable with this plan and it has a good understanding of what's included in it. So first, just some high level items. We performed a full update to the high injury network. So we do have a map available that shows you the 2022 version versus the 2026 version. We did an identification of community safety zones. So we recognized during the first safety action plan that there were many communities that didn't have any of the regional high injury network located within their boundaries. And we had members express an interest and say, hey, we'd like something maybe that we could work on, but there really isn't anything here for us. So if you are a community that does not have your own safety action plan, we did go through and basically create, it's almost like a mini version of a high injury network for your community. So those are located in the appendix of the plan. We do encourage you to take a look at it if you haven't already. Let me know if you have any questions on it. And then we also included the new a new entire section to the safety action plan, the vulnerable road user assessment. So again, just really focusing on items that affect pedestrians, cyclists, and just anyone outside of a car. Some additional information on our Vision Zero goals. So I previously stated that we would be updating the Vision Zero resolution. I do want to offer a clarification. I misspoke. So since our ultimate goal of a 35% reduction by the year 2040 is not changing, we actually do not need to update the Vision Zero resolution, because what we're changing is the actual tracking mechanism. So we're updating the baseline year to 2023 and using a 5-year rolling average. So if you'll recall, on our annual safety reports, I present on that every year. And often I'll note like, oh, it's up a little bit this year, it's down a little bit this year. And in general, it just kind of creates a confusion about how we're trending in the region as a whole. So the use of the 5-year rolling average is intended to kind of help smooth that out so we get a better idea of our trend. And the use of the baseline year to 2023 is intended to account for changes to crash data that Aries transitioned to finalized in 2023. So the Safety Steering Committee did vote on and recommend this update. We also updated the project scoring criteria and project list. So projects will no longer be submitted by members. You may remember going through this process yourself where we essentially asked you to submit projects to be included in the plan. So our new methodology generates projects with countermeasure guidance using the 5 following criteria listed on the screen. So is the project location part of a safety zone? Those are those community safety zones I mentioned on our second slide. Is it in the highest priority safety zone within a community? Is it a location with severe crash history? Is the project part of the regional HIN? Is it part of a past IMPO safety audit? So all these things are the items that give you points and affect the prioritization within the plan. The Safety Steering Committee also approved this methodology. And I do want to present on our public comment. So our public comment period was open from July 8th through July 22nd. Some of the items were just requested clarification on findings, which was provided, and then text was updated. So you can find that comment log in your packets if you're interested. And then we also had comments that emphasize the need for increasing investments into projects that improve safety. So this was reiterated in our Monday pre-hearing meeting that Laura referred to. So it really just talked about, the commenter just expanded to say, rather than expanding on the lanes and adding additional traffic, that they really desired an increased focus on safety, especially in Indianapolis. They also stated a desire for a more ambitious Vision Zero goal. And then there were some additional small edits by staff to revise typos, improve graphics, and eliminate mention of older plans and document. Again, I'm also happy to provide a separate log of that. So the safety action plan itself, obviously we're essentially finished with it. We're asking for adoption here at this meeting, but there are 2 other items left on that are part of the SS4A grant, separate from the safety action plan itself. So the road safety audits, that was also a big part of this grant. Those findings were finalized since packets went out. You should have received the results if you were one of the participating communities. If you did not receive them, please be sure to contact myself or Jennifer Dunn, and we'll be happy to sit down and talk with you all. We also have a 2026 Safety Summit hosted by ourselves to provide educational opportunities to the public on improving traffic safety. So this will be happening September 15th. We will be sending out additional information through the IMPO account shortly. And then the other item we have is an ArcGIS story map for the safety action plan. We understand that the safety action plan itself, it's a very large document. And so this is intended to just enhance accessibility. And it should be, it's essentially like a condensed version of the safety action plan that walks you through some of the key elements. So we'll also be finalizing that by September 15th. But that concludes my presentation. Are there any questions from anyone in the audience?
Hey, also at this time, we will also open up for a public hearing. So if there's questions, is there anybody online? Okay. Hey, is there any questions? Public hearing is closed. So we would need a motion to approve resolution 2026 IMPO-013.
I move for approval, Mr. Chairman.
Actually, I got to back up, sir. It's the wrong one. 2026 IMPO-012.
That's the one.
That's what I thought. Thank you, Jim.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item, special resolution from Sean.
So we are having something happen that's only happened, I think, once in the past decade, twice in the past decade, which is a principal planner is leaving the MPO, retiring this time. Andy Swenson has been with the city since 1983 and with the MPO since I think 1984 or 85. So he's had a long career in here. I'm going to read this resolution for him. He's planning to retire in September. A resolution of the Transportation Policy Committee of the Indianapolis Metropolitan Planning Organization honoring Andy Swenson for his 42 years of public service to the citizens of Central Indiana. Resolution 26 IMPO 13. Whereas the Indianapolis Metropolitan Planning Organization is charged with the responsibility of providing for the continuing cooperative and comprehensive transportation planning process for the Indianapolis Metropolitan Planning Area, and whereas the IMPO Transportation Policy Committee. A committee of the IMPO is the approval body for all transportation-related activities of the IMPO for the planning area under applicable U.S. Department of Transportation regulations. And whereas Andy Swenson, a long-term resident of Central Indiana, has dedicated his career to public service, working for the city of Indianapolis and the IMPO. And whereas Andy managed the IMPO's data section over 19 years under 3 executive directors and for many IMPO staff, where he advanced regional GIS modeling and data governance practices. And whereas Andy helped introduce modern data-driven methods to transportation planning in the development and refinement of early transportation modeling systems, which form the foundation of modeling and GIS data sets still used in the region today. And whereas Andy oversaw 2 major household travel surveys, improved long-range planning data sets, oversaw the census boundary review practices, and was a central contributor to maintaining the accuracy, quality, and documentation of regional planning data products. And whereas Andy, with a career spanning 42 years, has had a foundational and lasting impact on Indianapolis's and Central Indiana's geospatial and modeling landscape. And whereas Andy has been a trustworthy, loyal, musically entertaining, that's true, and collegial public servant of the IMPO staff, the people of Indianapolis and Central Indiana, and whose efforts have left Central Indiana a better place. Now, therefore, it be resolved by the Transportation Policy Committee of the IMPO, Transportation Policy Committee hereby honors Andy Swenson on the occasion of his retirement. Andy's been around for a very long time and has done a lot of really, really good things, left us in really, really good shape with the data roadmap that was just completed, lays out our next 8 years of investments in data and modeling capacity. We're building a new model right now. Andy has really been instrumental in getting us in really good footing with data and GIS stuff. He's been a big figure in that community for a long time. We'll miss him, but happy to see him off well. So this one does need an approval.
It doesn't need it.
It does.
It does, okay. Jim, this is item resolution number 2026 IMPO-013.
I appreciate that, Mr. But I have a question first.
Sure.
Is Mr. Swenson here?
He is not.
Is he online? No.
I doubt it.
Yeah, well, so
All right.
I'll second. Well, hi, Indigo.
We have a motion and a second to approve the congratulatory resolution, and he will be missed. All those in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you for your service. Okay, that gets us to maximum status updates, maximizing the value of land memo. Andrea.
Make sure that's shared. You're welcome.
All right. Hello again, everyone. I'm here to provide you an update with a recently completed housing related study, maximizing the value of land. It's not working. There we go. So real quick, before I dive into this study itself, I did want to just briefly provide you all with a recap that the IMPO is doing in housing. So we've sometimes gotten the question like why we as a more transportation related agency are doing work in housing. And just in general, housing has become a subject of increasing interest for IMPOs across the country, and really just dealing with how housing and land use can support regional mobility. Obviously, the way we develop as a region affects how our roads and streets need to stretch across. And so that's a big part of it. And federal transportation policy and funding is also increasingly recognizing that connection. So the recently passed Road to Housing Act does include MPOs, for example, as an eligible entity to apply for certain grants. This is not our first housing related item. So in 2024, we completed our first housing related study, which was the Central Indiana Housing Study. just intended to provide a regional overview on items like housing pricing, the types of housing available, how that compares to what people want and can afford. It also proposed policy solutions for identified issues and investigated the impacts of corporate investment. So one of the big items that is relevant towards understanding the motivations behind the MVL study is the contributing factors that we identified behind items that are contributing to the unaffordability that we are starting to see in our region. So I do want to just preface and say that market forces are a large contributor to rising prices, right? So things like interest rates, the cost of construction, those are very real and they are outside of our control. However, there were other items that we identified in the study that weren't outside of our control. So market forces are a large contributor to rising prices, but not the mismatch in the housing market stock as compared to preferences. Because two of the key findings that we had from this study is that the region does not have enough small ownership units. So these are 1 and 2 bedroom ownership units that people would like and simply aren't available in the quantity that people desire. And that the region has relatively more mid and higher cost 3 and 4 bedroom houses than people would prefer. And not saying that people aren't buying these types of housing, they absolutely are. But for some people, they may be buying those types of housing because something else wasn't really available to them that they would have preferred. So if the preferences are there, the lack of housing isn't an accident. It's the result of various policy decisions we have made. And these findings really center on an issue that's common across the US called missing middle housing. So these are housing options that fall between single family homes on medium to large size lots and these large apartment complexes, right? These are the 2 items that we see being built the most frequently, not just here, but across the US. So we have items such as, for example, cottage courts. It could be quads. It could also just be smaller size apartments complexes. So we frequently see these large mid-rise complexes. They can be over 100 units. But there are items that, have less than 20 units, and they tend to fit more seamlessly into the fabric of a neighborhood. And these housing options provide affordability along the spectrum, and they also allow people to stay within a single community at different stages of their life. And unfortunately, it's a type of housing that we've made difficult or in some cases impossible to build through our local ordinances. So the Central Indiana Housing Study really talked about housing diversity as an affordability issue. But one item that we really didn't go into detail on, and that the Maximizing the Value of Land study does, is that this is also a municipal budgeting issue. So what do I mean by that? I mean, obviously, every household within a community provides revenue in the form of taxes, property, and income, primarily in Indiana. And of course, there are costs associated with those residences, the expenses, so things spent on your streets, police, fire, parks, etc. And in a healthy community, obviously, you want these to be roughly on balance. So the question that the MVL is trying to address is, how do different housing types affect municipal budgets? And just to really be clear, I think, because that can kind of seem a little bit cold and technical, but really what we're asking is, how do different housing types affect our ability to provide services and a high quality of life for our residents? That is really what this study is getting at. So in this study, we compared the revenue versus cost of 10 acres of various types of housing development. So we had both rental and ownership and a range of densities. So it went from, we had items such as townhomes to single family large lot, to low-rise apartment complexes and more. And we had some key takeaways. The first is that higher density development is fiscally beneficial compared to lower density developments. There's often this perception that high density development is more costly. People think more people in a smaller area, that has to mean that it's going to cost our cities and towns more. But that's not the case, as was affirmed in this study, for a few different reasons. First, it generates more property tax revenues and income tax revenue per acre. That one is pretty intuitive to people, but there are some other items as well, such as that it just makes more efficient use of public infrastructure, your streets, water, sewer, stormwater mains. Obviously, the more you stretch those out, the higher those costs can get. And we also found that it reduces the service area that needs to be covered by emergency services and reduces those costs. So obviously, emergency response such as police and fire, it is more sensitive to population than some of our infrastructure. But nonetheless, we still found that there was a cost savings associated. So this might look like maybe adding staff or expanding onto an existing fire station rather than building an entirely new fire station in an area of your community that is developing because, you know, it just doesn't have the responsiveness of the existing ones. We also found that rental housing was fiscally beneficial compared to owner-occupied housing for the simple reason that owner-occupied housing has lower property taxes because of deductions and caps. And we do have this summary graph, which looks at our 3 comparison municipalities. So you can see their different housing types and the net fiscal impact. So you can see on the left, we have ownership housing types. On the right, we have rental, and then we have the varying densities. And as you can see, in general, the highest fiscal impact was the high density rental. We also wanted to account for the school districts. So that is a big part of communities, and we recognize how important this is to you. So we wanted to account for that as well in this study. But we found essentially the same results for the same reasons I already stated. Rental housing is more fiscally beneficial because it pays higher property taxes. Rental housing is also more fiscally beneficial because there tend to be fewer school-age children in renter-occupied households. And then this topic about budgets is important at any time, but it's especially critical as we look forward to the impacts of Senate Enrolled Act 1 from last year. So as you all know, this act is being steadily phased into effect, finishing in 2031. And we did take a look at the impact that this is anticipated to have on our communities. And it does that. It's going to reduce revenue through increasing homestead property deductions and providing new property tax credits. And the analysis estimates a 30% reduction in total revenues for ownership housing types and a 23% reduction in total revenues for rental housing. And so for many municipalities, this will result in a drop below the minimum fund balance if absolutely nothing changes, as I'm sure you're all aware. So municipalities have multiple options for how you can choose to respond. Again, I know you're having these conversations internally. Far be it from me to tell you about this. You might be looking at things like increasing your local income tax. It might be targeted service reductions. It might be raising revenue in other ways. It's probably a combination of a lot of different things. But the item that I do want to just highlight is that the housing types that provide the greatest fiscal benefits continue to do so under SEA 1. And we are not saying to just build high-rise apartment complexes in your communities. That is not what the IMPO is trying to communicate to you. But we do believe that this is an important piece of the conversation when we talk about not only affordability across the region, but making sure that our communities can continue to provide these high-quality services to our residents that they've come to expect. Real quick, I'm not going to go into detail. I just want you to be aware that these items exist. We have site-specific case studies. So sometimes we'll get questions about like, well, what about a specific situation? So we did 3 case studies, an infill site, a greenfield development site, and a TIF district. And you can look at the study and see the different results of how those impact municipalities. And we also had a quality of place analysis, which looked at how household numbers affect the ability of a community to support desired quality of life features. So when I say this, I'm really talking about when people express a desire for certain amenities, certain businesses. And obviously there's a lot that goes into site location, but part of the picture, part of the puzzle is also whether there are just simply enough people, enough households to support those types of businesses. So people want these things and they don't always understand that you need to have so many people in order to support them. So that was really the general intention of the quality of place analysis that you can find in the study. So that was just a quick high-level overview of it. If you are interested in learning more about this, about getting additional details, I'm happy to sit down and have a longer conversation with you all. I'm happy to talk to other staff if you think this is important for them to understand. And in general, you can get in contact with me at my email, at my phone number. But I'm also happy to take any questions you may have now.
Have you done any analysis on lit impacts, local income tax? Because what we're finding is we're relying more on the lit, not just because of SEA one, but just because the more people, the more you generate. And that's
Yes.
offsetting cost a lot.
Yes, so that does take into account. So when we're talking about revenues, the local income taxes are accounted for.
You might want to make that a separate item because that's a good analysis as we go into replacing property tax with lit.
Yeah, I can make sure to expand on that more.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yes,
Gabrielle, thank you for this report, but is this available online?
yes, it is. Absolutely. Yes. So if you go to our website and you go to our land, you go to just like our plans, it's under the land use and housing section, and it's the MVL maximizing the value of land study. So we have a tidy executive summary at the front and of course the full report after it.
Andrea, back to the incomes. One thing we've done in Barbersville is we've added to our economic development intake forms and matrix of scoring in the planning office, incomes per acre. So we're gonna analyze if you want to develop in Barbersville, we're gonna analyze what your incomes are gonna be per acre.
Yeah.
So in other words, Class A apartments are gonna rank the highest
Mhm.
because those incomes per acre are gonna be through the roof, right? So it's interesting. This is a good report. Thank you.
Mhm.
And we have certainly seen density. High density is the best route to go in a world where we're being told allow more single family sprawl homes to be built. So it doesn't drive, right?
Mhm.
So thanks for this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this lines up with transit oriented development that was.
It does.
For. It's the density revenue.
Yes. Yeah, it does.
Walkability, less road miles.
It also lines up with some of the items we're seeing in our other work. So we have a community preference survey and it's showing, for example, suburban mixed use is the most preferred community type. So that also plays into it. People want that walkability. They want some people want to drive everywhere, but some people don't. And actually a significant portion of our community doesn't, but that's really what we're building. So we're not building what people want, we're not building what people can afford, and we're not building what we can afford is basically the takeaway, I would say. So. All right. Well, yes, please contact me. I'm trying to get just share this information in general, so I'm happy to talk more with other people, more with you. So please let me know.
Thank you, Andrea. Good job. Hey, that gets us, it looks like the Sean show the rest of the way out.
Deputy Director updates, JV team, we got this.
That's right. So I think we showed with the JV team today, just a little. So,
My bad.
yeah.
Certification. So every 4 years, we do certification with INDOT and Federal Highway. They came in April and we gave them the full show, everything that we do, all documents, everything. It went swimmingly. So we got the report back. In the last month, we've responded with comments. It had 0 corrective actions, which is a huge deal and a big feather in Anna's cap, I believe. She would not like me to say that, but it is true. 9 recommendations. We discussed some of those with them. We're not challenging any of them. Some of them are more fluffy, some are more firm. But there's good stuff in there. We'll be following up on those. I just buzzed. Yeah, she responded. Anna's listening in. Hi, Anna. And 2 commendations. One for our working relationship with Indigo and CERTA. which has been long running and close. And then a second for Andrea's work on the regional planning roundtable. So we started convening planners in an informal way. And that has gone very well. The federal government has given us a lot of green lights when it comes to working on land use and housing issues. The most recent transportation bill, it's about to expire, it just got pushed back to December, had a pretty significant section on housing and MPOs. And we're part of a working group with Federal Highway, where a lot of our work, a lot of Andrea's work has been highlighted. And so we received a commendation for that work. So we feel very, very good about where we are on the certification. It's not fully approved yet. We'll go through the recommendations with you all. When we get those, Federal Highway will not be making a presentation. They typically do historically, but will not be right now. They're just simply not allowed to. Hurt environment. Strategic plan is the next piece here. We are reaching the end of the strategic planning process. So the last one we did was in 2018. And then we've been at this one for most of this year. We've collected all feedback. We did the survey of you all, the first couple of meetings. We did a really detailed survey with the executive committee. They bared with us through all of that, gave us outstanding feedback. We used the regional planning roundtable as a sounding board. We looked at several other MPOs, made a visit to Atlanta. I think it was a very, very good visit. We learned a ton. ARC is a fantastic MPO. We learned a lot on the trip. Got to see the progress they've made on that trail, on the Beltline Trail. It's just unbelievable in a decade. So I believe we received all feedback we need to. The theme of this one has really been how do we provide as much value for our members as possible in the next 5 to 10 years. So the previous MPO was about separating from the city and dipping our toe into some areas outside of transportation planning. This one has really been about refining that approach and understanding where we can provide value. We're finding in a lot of areas, there's a pretty narrow path where we'll try and provide some help. An example would be economic development. So it makes sense for us to coordinate the SEDS plan in cooperation with the RDA. We're working on swim lanes there. We're working on that relationship. We've made a lot of progress over the last 2 years and are working very well with Jen Messer and the team at the RDA. The areas of housing and land use have had kind of much broader acceptance. It's been pushing on an open door. People want to see the regional perspective on things. And it's, we believe, provided value. We've been getting a lot of green lights, a lot of agreement among plans, things like that. The executive committee set some pretty clear guardrails around what we should be doing in that space, that transportation must remain the primary work that we do, and it will, and set some guidelines on where we spend money, how much money we actually spend supporting housing and land use. And so we will be really clear in defining those and respecting those, but want to continue to provide useful content for you all. And we're going to try and outline that as clearly as we can in the strategic plan. That will be on the October agenda, approval of the strategic plan. Any questions about that one? We'll do a more full presentation at that point with the consultant, I believe. Okay. Bylaws got an update or are getting an update. The main thing driving that is Cumberland is now an included or excluded city. Sorry. So congratulations to Cumberland. That's not here, but that was the main change. A couple of other small changes around that, just to make processes run a little bit more smoothly. And ATP, the Active Transportation Plan, is going to be getting a steering committee, JOT. There's actually two things. There's that. There's also the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. We need people to review RFPs, sit on that selection committee. So if you're willing to serve on either of those, JOT is your girl. And please let her know, probably as soon as possible. Those are going to get moving pretty quickly here, both active transportation and the next update to the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. And if you came in late or you didn't get a chance to, please sign in. This is how we keep our minutes up to date. Just scan the QR code and be sure to sign in. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, is there any other questions or anybody want to bring anything up while we have the opportunity?
Anybody got a spare bridge in their pocket?
Yeah.
Ain't there.
I want to take a moment to thank the MPO for calling to our attention. Several weeks ago, there was an email circulated by the MPO according us to the opportunity to possibly be part of something called the Charging Smart Bronze Cohort. We did respond to that, and just yesterday, we received an email, the city of Morris, that's been selected as cohort, so thank you very much.
That's fantastic. And that builds on the electrification work that we did on the local planning program a year ago. So yeah, wonderful to hear.
Congratulations.
Yep, congrats.
Anybody else? And we don't have any bridges laying around anywhere, so. Okay, we have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second? All those in favor? Thank you. We're adjourned.
Well, it's my fault. You said two and I knew that. You did great. You did great. Thank you for doing that.